So good morning to all of you. Some more people are yet to join, but we are beginning the session. I think I'm audible to all of you. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm audible. So we are continuing from what we have been discussing in the last class. Of course, every crisis, the effect can be reduced if you prepare well in advance. Like if you take your examination as a crisis, which I hope may not be, if you are properly prepared, the impact of that crisis will be very less. And the cost also will be very less if we are prepared. Take, for example, the flood we had in 2018 and 19. The flood magnitude was very similar in 2018 and 19, but the impact of the flood was quite less in 2019 because we were experienced in handling it. We had a lot of preparations for it. Though it was inadequate, we had. So impact can be reduced. And one more thing is, don't underestimate the damage. Always think that we are going to have the worst. Like telling a date to someone. If you are assigned a work, if you say that I'll finish it by April 30th, and you are not finishing it, you will be at stake, and your image will be gone. Similarly, instead of saying April 30th, you say May 15th, and by May 5th you complete the work and give to them. Your image will be boosted. A simple technique like this: always estimate and inform the public that the crisis is going to be very high, so that the public will be well prepared. So when the crisis comes, they'll be prepared to take it, and they'll be prepared to take much more. So the havoc and the damage will be quite less. Let us see the next slide. At the higher level means normally in a crisis management, the higher level is the government level, state government level or the central government, especially in climate-related accidents and crisis. The central government is the highest level. In other accidents like local things, some epidemics, and all such things, the state government is at the higher level. So at the higher level, there has to be some SOPs, standard operating procedure, that is called SOP, or they are called emergency procedures. In any reputed institution, whether government or private, there will be what is called an SOP, standard operating procedure, so that in case of any crisis or emergency, that should be followed. If you go to a well advanced hospital, in their emergency ward or in their casualty section, there will be always an SOP. They have to follow that. In case of anything going untoward, they'll just verify whether the SOP has gone properly and who has violated the SOP. And basically, there has to be awareness among the people who are going to do it. The staff awareness should be there, and experts should be available to seek advice. Suppose something goes wrong, there has to be a list of experts who can be contacted for taking the opinion. In every field, the opinion of the expert is much valid. And then there has to be standard decisions in languages which are understood to the people. Say, for example, a flood is coming, a tsunami is coming. An English announcement may not work. In the vernacular language, maybe in Malayalam and Tamil, you have to announce so that the fishermen or the people who are in the sea will understand what is going to happen. So that is also very important. See the next slide. Before the crisis, pre-crisis means before the crisis, what you can do. Before the crisis unfolds, and then after the crisis, and then in brief or in nutshell, what things can be done. So this should be prepared well in advance. Can you, any one of you give an example? Before the crisis, say, we are expecting an earthquake. Earthquake is yet to come. We are expecting, say, the government has announced that there is going to be an earthquake of intensity around 7. Earthquake, it is very difficult to announce, but in many of the South Asian countries now facilities there for announcing the earthquake. So if such an announcement comes, as an engineer in charge of some emergency camp, what will be your first what will be your first action? As an engineer in charge of an emergency camp or emergency situation, can anybody tell what you will do first before the crisis unfolds? What you will do first? You are told by the government that there is going to be an earthquake. You are the engineer in charge of handling it. What do you do first? Chelsea, can you tell me what you will do first? Chelsea, can you hear me?
Sir, yes, sir.
What you will do first? You are in charge of the emergency operations. Just now you got an
Sir,
information that there is going to be an earthquake.
Sir, ആൾക്കാരെ
Okay. Pardon? കേട്ടില്ല?
മാറ്റിപ്പാർപ്പിക്കില്ലേ വീടുകളിൽ നിന്ന് മാറ്റി
ഓക്കെ 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 അത് സെക്കൻഡ് സ്റ്റേജ് ആണ്. അത് സെക്കൻഡ് സ്റ്റേജ് ആണ്. ഫസ്റ്റ് സ്റ്റേജ് എന്താണ്?
സർ അവെയർ ആക്കുക എല്ലാവരെയും.
Yes, that is the first stage. The first stage is to make the awareness. Second stage is, of course, the rehabilitation of the people, taking them away from the earthquake zone, etc. First thing is giving awareness. So you are understanding what I'm saying. See the next slide. When the crisis happens, really happens. When the crisis really happens, the most important thing is passing the correct information. That is what is called crisis communication. We'll discuss a lot of things about it. Crisis communication means many times people will be put into panic by miscommunication. Miscommunication in the sense, wrong communication may go. Say, for example, a small earthquake has come. If the news goes that the earthquake is very heavy, all around the world, people will be in panic because their friends, relatives will be there everywhere. So, correct communication and information is very, very important. And for that, a chronology-based information is necessary. Say, if it is an earthquake, now it is 11:09. At 11:09, what has happened? At 11:15, what has happened? At 11:20, what has happened? This information is very, very, very much required because otherwise, people will be really in panic and they will not know. I still remember a case when some years back I was at Tirunelveli. I was lying down on my bed. I don't exactly remember the date. I was lying down on my bed in the. It was a holiday. That is why I was on bed. It was a bit late in the morning. Then what happened is, all of a sudden I felt a thumping movement. Thumping movement means like this. Earthquake has got two types of movement: horizontal movement and thumping movement. Horizontal movement you cannot feel when you are on bed, but this thumping movement I felt immediately. Then what I did immediately is I called the Asianet news reporter, who was personally known to me, and I said that a mild tremor has occurred, a mild earthquake has occurred. Please hold for 1 minute. Sorry, I had to attend to an emergency matter. Now, at that time, when I felt this thumping motion, from my knowledge of earthquake, I could predict what was the intensity of that earthquake, roughly. So, yeah, immediately I was at Perurkada at that time. I called the Asianet reporter and asked him whether you have got any information of earthquake so far, because just now a small earthquake has come. I am at Perurkada, and Perurkada, I expect the intensity to be between 3 and 4. By the thumping action, I felt it. Then he said nothing has come so far, but we will check with. And within 3 minutes, Asianet flashed the news that earthquake has occurred in Tirunelveli region. The intensity is very low, so there is no casualty. And they also reported that from Perurkada, we got an approximate estimate that the intensity is around 3 on the Richter scale. That information is actually what I have given. But what I'm saying is, because I gave that intensity 3, nobody was in panic. Anybody who knows about earthquake knows that an intensity of between 3 and 4 is not dangerous. I specifically gave that intensity level because people who are abroad, who have their relatives in Tirunelveli, should not be kept in panic. So if you know something really well, don't guesswork. Because I was so sure the intensities, because I have done so many papers on earthquake engineering for my PG courses. So I know what is really the effect of that intensity and how much that thumping action was. I could give that information. But if you don't know what is the intensity or what is going to be the height of the tsunami, don't respond. If you know something for sure, disseminate that information. Maybe on that day evening, again, the reporter called me and said that, sir, we got a lot of queries from people. What is the intensity, how much it is, etc. And we were so lucky that we could quote your statement. You told only around 3. And that was a good information for everyone, and everybody was satisfied. So that awareness of an earthquake is very, very important, because at Tirunelveli, if an earthquake above 5 or 6 occurs, it will be very dangerous. And even if more than 7 occurs, Secretariat building also may collapse, because it's an old building. So earthquake of intensity higher level is very dangerous in a capital city like that. Why I'm saying is, information is very, very important. Wrong information should not pass. And if you are in charge of some information, always remember that your statements are very, very important. See the next slide. Nandita, please show the next slide. Something has gone wrong. Slide is not coming. Yes, it has opened up. Now see that slide. See the first statement. Whenever the crisis unfolds or is happening, I told one thing is the correct information is very important. And chronology, the time by time reaction is also very important. And the next thing to be noted is that the concerned officials should be more humane, not rigid. Don't resort to the legalities. Say, for example, as per rule, a police officer is supposed to take action only after preparing the FIR. Suppose somebody is in danger, but in the case of when an accident happens or when a crisis happens, he should not say that let me wait, let me make a report and then take the action. Somebody is found fatally lying on the ground, you should immediately take him away. Don't. That is why I said humane. You should be more humane. In times of crisis, don't resort much to the law. You behave as a human being, not as somebody which is bound by the official norms. Of course, something may go wrong after that, doesn't matter, because when you react in time of emergency, you always have a protection for that. And we also should have risk assessors and risk managers. Say, for example, a fire is happening. You are not an expert on fire, but the fire force people are there. These fire force people are people who can manage their plan of activity. So when something goes wrong, a tanker is catching fire, don't try to control the situation by yourself. Take the help of a fire official. Take their advice. Because, every fire cannot be extinguished the same way. If the fire catches in a gas cylinder, it has to be done in one way. The fire catches an oil tanker, it has to be done in another way. The fire catches a building, it has to be done in another way. The fire catches a plastic factory, like what happened at Tirunelveli 2 years back, it has to be dealt in another way. So how to deal a fire, you are not an expert. But there are trained people who are experts on that. So always take their help, otherwise it may be dangerous. Moreover, even where to stand when the fire spreads, that is also very important. The firefighting people know that they have to stand on the direction of the wind, not on the leeward side, but on the windward side, so that the fire will not catch them. whenever you are doing some rescue work, keep in mind that the most important thing is you yourself are safe. If you are not safe, you cannot make the others safe. This is one important thing in any crisis. In any crisis, you have to be safe. Suppose you are seeing a boy drowning in water. If you don't know swimming, you should not jump into water. You find a person immediately who knows swimming and ask him to jump. You should help from the ground only. Because a person who do not know swimming, if he jumps into the water, he will become another nuisance for that rescue operation. So these things are something which we have to keep in mind. See the next slide. Then another thing which happens in a crisis is unity of order will be missing. Many people, as you know, too many cooks will spoil the broth. You should have a definite command. That is why the army has got a command system. In an army, the captain says something, all the sepoys have to obey. But if the colonel says something, all the captains have to obey. But if the general says something, all the people have to obey. There is no excuse. Orders of the captain will be cancelled immediately. The orders of the colonel and brigadier will be cancelled immediately, and whatever the general says will stand. Because there is a definite command order there. Say, for example, in a college, there is a command order. There is a head of the institution principal. For different departments, HODs are there. For different subjects, teachers are there. For different labs, lab staff are there. So maybe if something goes wrong in the lab, the lab staff will immediately take care of. They will say, do this, do that. But if your head of the department is coming to that set, he will give an instruction which all the people, including the lab staff, will have to follow. But in such a case, an impending danger is there. The principal is coming to the location. The principal gives an order, then everybody will have to follow. That is the order or command which we have to keep in times of catastrophe. That is why in any such mechanism, whether it is rescue operations, whether it is the riot control mechanism or police or such things, there is what is called an order of or command. Who stands above whom, it is well defined, so that so many people cannot take the authority to themselves at the time of crisis. So any crisis management system should have that order. There should be a coordination between different departments. Say, when flood was there, the Navy was saying that we couldn't do, but the police was saying that we could do like that. So then immediately they formed what is called a coordination unit, because Navy is under control of the captain, whereas the police is under control of the police officials. Both cannot honor each other. But when their top echelons do combine and say that this is a common order, then it can be, that is how that rescue operations for the flood became more effective. Initially, it was not effective because Navy was operating in one way and the police was operating in another way. But when both the duo combined, the operation was better. And another thing is, any rescue operator should have a sympathy to the affected people. Don't feel that I am doing some great thing. You are doing something for the rescue of the people. So, can you quote an example of a sympathy in a rescue operation? Anybody? Can anybody quote a case of sympathy in a rescue operation? Dia, can you tell me how you can show a sympathy in a rescue operation? Dia, suppose you are in charge of whichever rescue operation you can imagine, which one you want. How you can show sympathy in that operation? Dia is here. Please unmute. Yes, Dia is here. Can you tell me how you can show sympathy? You are doing some operation. You select your own operation. It can be a fire or a flood or an earthquake or anything or an accident. Wherever you are a witness. You will feel that, of course, when you are under some danger, you will feel that angels and gods are coming in front of you. I had such an experience. I think I have once mentioned it. 4 years back, I had a severe car accident. And then I knew my legs are broken, both legs. All of a sudden, a huge crowd came around, so many youngsters. So I told those youngsters that my leg is broken. Please be very careful while lifting me, because otherwise I'll be in trouble. And I found that they were all angels. They took me up. They, just like, lifting a butterfly, they have lifted me in a big group and put me in a stretcher. That I found that they were the real gods I have seen. So that is what is sympathy, showing concern to the affected person. This is one example only. Any more examples you can say. I have seen that in the flood season in 2018, there was a lady who couldn't climb a boat. All of a sudden, the rescue operator bent himself, and he became, his back he made as a footstep. That is a sympathy you can have to the affected victim. So whenever you do some rescue operations, recently there was a plane partial accident at Calicut airport, and all the local people have come there as angels. I think in these operations, we Keralites are good in showing sympathy to the people compared to any other people. We are very good in showing sympathy to the victims. See the next slide. After the crisis, what do you have to do? After the crisis, then news media will be interested in making so many stories with the minute, attenuations to attract the people. So be careful that the official version only should be published in media. Otherwise, people will be in trouble. So have some news coordinator or a spokesperson for the incident, so that he only gives. Otherwise, they will collect so many stories, cooked up stories, negative stories, positive stories. This should be avoided. So for any issue, something goes wrong. Say, for example, yesterday, there was a small accident at Ernakulam. The helicopter, which Mr. Yusuf Ali, is a multi-billionaire. He's one of the richest persons in the world. He was traveling from his house to some Ernakulam location. His helicopter met with an accident. Immediately, they crash landed. But before spreading all the news, they were capable of controlling that thing so that the fake news didn't come. He has got a PRO system. He has got a public relations office. They gave the news that they are all good. They are all in good condition. He has no medical problems. So don't spread rumors. It was cleared off. If it was not there, if he was not having a news control system like that, people would have spread the news like anything. Many times you would have seen that very healthy people were killed by the news media. Such incidents have been there. So emergency procedures have to be updated. These are all required after the crisis. See the next slide. Another place, come to the next slide. Yes. So in a nutshell, totally saying, we can say that we should be prepared. So that whenever you are involved in a crisis, a very simple crisis is a motor accident, a vehicle accident you are witnessing. Now, you must be knowing that nowadays vehicles are not permitted in college campuses in Kerala. What happened some years back? Students were celebrating Holi in Thiruvananthapuram Engineering College. All of a sudden, one Jeep, a four-wheeler, went amok, and it was being driven by a boy, a student of the college, and it hit a girl there. By the time that girl went to the hospital, she died. So government made a rule that vehicles will not be permitted in college campuses. That is why you are also not permitted to take the vehicles to the college nowadays. Campus cannot permit you because it's a government order. So, of course, in such a crisis, what can be done? Maybe that was a crisis which happened all of a sudden. But crisis management also can be there in college campuses. If at all vehicles have to move, in Tamil Nadu they have got that system. They permit the vehicle to some point. Beyond that, they won't permit inside the ground. Last week, I've been there to PSD College of Technology, Coimbatore, where my daughter is teaching. I've seen that they permit the vehicle only up to the front side of the main buildings. Beyond that, if you want to go, you should have an ID card, especially in the parking area or inside. So any vehicle which is kept in front can be even an external vehicle. But student vehicle, they won't permit to beyond area other than the front side. So every institution has got that system. This is all part of the crisis management so that nothing goes wrong inside the campus. See the next slide. One thing is, when the accident is happening, tell only the truth. Don't tell any falsehood. Don't make imaginary hooked up stories. You are not changing the slide. Don't cook up the stories. And especially to the media, you have to inform them that this is the truth, don't distort. Media are the people generally who distort the news. So that also should be kept intact. So the slide is not a change. Anyway, and another thing is, be visible. When the crisis is taking place, then the official who is in charge of it should be at a location where everything is visible. Everything is visible means, say, for example, a war is happening. The commander of the forces will be at a higher level in the sense from where everything will be visible. Say, for example, a brigadier is there in charge of a unit which is in war front. He will be at a location which is higher than all the other places, so that from there he can see it. And another thing is, in many such organizations, there's a system by which if sympathy is not shown to the victims, they are punishable. So at times, say for example, in war, there is a rule: don't attack the women, don't attack the children. These are a part of the sympathy. And if a person is attacking purposefully the women and children who are unarmed, definitely action will be taken against them. That also can happen. Then another thing is, before an accident takes place, we should have a plan for action. Who will communicate? What will be the type of message? This can be well planned in cases like, say, an atomic explosion is possible. Say, I have told that there is an atomic power plant, Kudamkulam, very close to Kanyakumari, Kudamkulam. If the Kudamkulam atomic power plant breaks, even Thiruvananthapuram will be affected. So at Kudamkulam, there should be a system by which something goes wrong in the plant. All the people, slide is not working, doesn't matter, I'll continue. Slides you can show whenever it is possible. So at Kudamkulam, there should be a plan, a communication plan, so that if atomic radiations are leaking, how it is let known to the people. Then the next stage is how the people should be evacuated, how the people can be evacuated from that area. Show the next slide. I'm just talking on the next slide. Show the next slide, please. Okay. And what are the messages to be given to the people? And moreover, we should also have a system by which two-way communication is possible. Two-way communication in the sense, next slide, please. Two-way communication in the sense, what the people are returning to us, what the people are giving the information to us. And then we have got the last part of our discussion is going to be CERC, Crisis and Emergency Risk Communication. Next slide we are having. Crisis and Emergency Risk Communication. Crisis and Emergency Risk Communication is by itself a deal, CERC. The purpose of CERC is that at the time of crisis, the communication goes well. At the time of the crisis, the communication goes well, so that whoever is taking the decision, that decision is disseminated. Second thing is, whoever is to be aware of the decision, they are getting aware of it. And obviously, in case of emergencies, there have to be two types of people. and one people are the controlling people and the other people are the affected people. And the affected people always have an upset mind. Whenever some tragedy comes, our mindset will change. Say, for example, if a snake bites you, your mindset will always change. So you should not take the decisions. The others who are nearby should take the decision. Okay? So the others who are more sensible at that time. If you are bitten by a snake, your decisions may go wrong, but the others have to take the decision. Similarly, when you are affected by a catastrophe, when you are in the midst of an earthquake, you will be bewildered. You will not know what to do. See the next slide. So you will have to take information and instruction from somebody who can take care of it. There are some rules. There are some rules. They are called the 6 principles of CERC. The first principle is be first. Next slide, you can come. Next slide. These are the rules which we take in crisis and emergency risk management, CRC. Be the first. What do you mean by be the first? What do you understand by be the first? Can anybody tell me what do you understand by be the first? Can anyone tell? In an emergency, suppose you are in charge of an emergency, what do you understand by saying be the first? Kavya, can you tell me what is the meaning of be the yes, Diya says provide immediate help. Okay. Diya says provide immediate help. You are right. Not only providing the help, get to know about it immediately, because if you are in charge of some operations, the knowledge about the crisis is very important. The delay caused in knowing that is going to be very dangerous. See the next point. See the next principle. Next principle is what is called, that slide is not changing. So the next principle is what is called be the right. Be right. What do you understand by be right? Let me see what you have to say. Be right. Can anybody tell me? Jaydev, can you tell me what do you mean by be right? When you are what does it understand? What do you understand by that? You should not be wrong. What is the meaning of that? Can you give an example? What is the meaning of that? Jaydev, can you hear me? Yes or no? No response? Why you people are very late in responding? Jaydev. Jaydev is here. Or he has left. GC. GC is here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. What do you mean by be right? That means not to be wrong. What do you understand by be right? That means you should not be wrong. What does it mean? It means that you should not give false information. Say there is an earthquake. Nobody has seen any danger. But if the information goes that so many people are killed, what does it mean? That will be spreading a havoc among other people. Or if you just give an information that 10 buildings have collapsed, or many buildings have collapsed, without seeing it, if you are sending the information, that will be very dangerous. So that is what is called be right. Then what is the third one? Be credible. What do you mean by credible? What is the word meaning of credible? Credibility. Mekhatiyar, what do you mean by credibility? I am asking, what is your credibility? What do you understand by that? Mekhatiyar.
Sir.
What do you understand by credibility? Credibility ക്ക് മലയാളത്തിൽ എന്ത് പറയാം?
വിശ്വാസിക്കത.
പറയൂ. കേട്ടില്ല, ഉറക്കെ പറയൂ. മൊബൈൽ അടുത്ത് പിടിച്ചിട്ട് പറയൂ. കേട്ടില്ല.
വിശ്വാസ്യതയാണോ സർ?
വിശ്വാസ്യത. യു ആർ റൈറ്റ്. വിശ്വാസ്യത. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ക്രെഡിബിലിറ്റി. നമ്മൾ ഒരിക്കൽ യു വുഡ് ഹാവ് ഹേർഡ് ദ ഓൾഡ് സ്റ്റോറി. പുലി വരുന്നതെന്ന് പല പ്രാവശ്യം ഒരുത്തൻ ഒരു ആട്ടിടയൻ കളിപ്പിച്ചതുകൊണ്ട് പുലി ശരിക്കും വന്നപ്പോൾ ആരും അത് മൈൻഡ് ചെയ്തില്ല. ബിക്കോസ് ദേ സെഡ് ഹി ഈസ് ഫൂളിംഗ്. He lost his credibility. So when you are in charge of some crisis operation, whatever you say should be cross-checked. Don't say anything just for the sake of telling. കൃത്യമായിട്ട് അറിയാത്ത കാര്യങ്ങൾ ഇൻഫർമേഷൻ ആയിട്ട് കൊടുക്കാൻ പാടില്ല. Okay, nowadays that is very important. If somebody is going for testing a COVID, you should not say that he is having COVID. Only after testing and it is confirmed, you should spread the message or you should tell that he is having COVID. So otherwise you are losing your credibility. See the next slide. Express empathy. Empathy means what? There is slight difference between sympathy and empathy. What is the difference between sympathy and empathy? Can somebody give me Mariha? Mariha എവിടെ ഉണ്ടോ? Mariha, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What is the difference between sympathy and empathy? ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിളോട് കൂടി പറയാവോ? സിമ്പതിയും എമ്പതിയും തമ്മിലുള്ള വ്യത്യാസം.
സർ, എമ്പതി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോ നമ്മുടെ അതായത് പീപ്പിൾസിന്റെ ഫീലിങ്സ്, അതേഴ്സ് ഫീലിങ്സ് അണ്ടർസ്റ്റാൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് എമ്പതി. അതായത് സിമ്പതി എന്ന് പറയുമ്പോൾ മറ്റൊരാളുടെ ഫീലിങ്സിന് നമുക്ക് അതിപ്പോ എങ്ങനെ പറയാ, എബിലിറ്റി ടു ടേക്ക് പാർട്ട് ഇൻ സംവൺ എൽസ് ഫീലിങ്സ്.
ചെറിയ വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ട്. മരിഹ പറഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ അത് ക്ലിയർ ആയില്ല. ഐ വിൽ എക്സ്പ്ലെയിൻ ടു യു. മരിഹ റോഡിൽ കൂടെ പോവാണ്. റോഡിൽ കൂടെ പോകുമ്പോൾ റോഡ് സൈഡിൽ ഒരാൾ പട്ടിണി കിടന്ന് അങ്ങ് വയ്യാതിരിക്കുന്നു. ഭക്ഷണം കഴിക്കാഞ്ഞിട്ട് ആ ആവശ്യമായിട്ട് കിടക്കുകയാണ് ബോധം കെട്ട്. അപ്പോൾ മരിഹ പറയാണ്, അയ്യോ പാവം, ഒരാഴ്ചയായി ഭക്ഷണം കഴിച്ചിട്ട് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് സിമ്പതൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വാട്ട് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് സിമ്പതി. എന്നാൽ അതിന് പകരം അതിന് സഹതാപം എന്ന് പറയാം. എന്നാൽ അതിന് പകരം മരിഹ എന്താ ചെയ്യുന്നത് വെച്ചാൽ അടുത്തുള്ള ഒരു ഹോട്ടലിൽ പോയി ഒരു പൊതി ചോറ് വാങ്ങിച്ചുകൊണ്ട് വന്നിട്ട് ഈ വിശന്ന് കഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട് കിടക്കുന്നതിന്റെ മുന്നേ വെച്ചിട്ട് ഇത് കഴിച്ചോളൂ എന്ന് പറയുന്നു. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് വാട്ട് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് എമ്പതി. തമ്മിലുള്ള വ്യത്യാസം മനസ്സിലായോ? അപ്പൊ മലയാളത്തിൽ എന്ത് പറയാ എമ്പതിക്ക്? സിമ്പതിക്ക് സഹതാപം എന്ന് വേണേൽ പറയാം. സഹതപിക്കുക, ദുഃഖിക്കുക, അങ്ങ് പോവാ. എമ്പതി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അതിലും കൂടുതലാണ്. എമ്പതി ഈസ് എ സ്റ്റെപ്പ് ബിയോണ്ട്. ഇപ്പോൾ വഴി കൂടെ പോകുമ്പോൾ ഒരു 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 മനുഷ്യനെ വണ്ടി ഇടിച്ച് കിടക്കുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ പറയുകയാണ്, ഓ കഷ്ടമായിപ്പോയി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് ഇത്തിരി ദുഃഖിച്ചിട്ട് സ്ഥലം വിടുക. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് സിമ്പതി. മറിച്ച് അപ്പം തന്നെ ഒരു വണ്ടി അറേഞ്ച് ചെയ്ത് അയാളെ ഹോസ്പിറ്റലിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ അയാളെ ഏർപ്പാട് ചെയ്യുക. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് എംപതി. സോ getting involved in soothing that individual is called empathy. Whereas just saying or sympathizing a person is called, or just saying that okay, it is his hard luck, is called sympathy. Which one you prefer? Sriram, you are always a sympathizer or an empathizer? Sriram ille? Sriram, are you hearing or not? Sriram is there. You are an empathizer, you are saying, okay, good. Actually, empathizers are very less. Sympathizers are more among us. But we want people really showing empathy. Empathy will involve trust, support, acknowledgement, everything. See the next slide. Promote action. That means do something. Don't say statement like the old saying, somebody can do it, somebody can do this. No. You start doing. In a crisis situation, you start doing it, and then others will start doing. Then you will have a moral commanding power. If you are doing something, then you will have a moral command which you can transfer to others. നിങ്ങൾ എന്തെങ്കിലും ചെയ്താൽ മാത്രമേ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മറ്റുള്ളവരോട് ഒരു കൂട്ടം പട്ടികൾ ഒരു കുഞ്ഞിനെ കടിക്കാൻ വരുന്നു. It's a crisis situation. Many times it can happen. അപ്പോൾ അവിടുന്ന് ഓടി രക്ഷപ്പെട്ടിട്ട് പറയാണ്, ഓ പട്ടികൾ ഇതാ കടിക്കാൻ വരുന്നത്. വാട്ട് ഈസ് എ പോയിന്റ് ഇൻ ഇറ്റ്? അവിടെ അടുത്തൊരു വടി കിടപ്പുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് എടുത്തിട്ട് പട്ടികളെ ഓടിക്കാൻ ശ്രമിക്കുന്നതാണ്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ആക്ഷൻ. Basically, along with that, you can shout. You can shout and inform the others that such a thing is happening. So, action is more important, which involves empathy, whereas only words will not be empathy. See the last one, last principle, sixth principle. Show respect. Respect is something which you have to give and take. Respect തനിയെ വരില്ല. See, I tell all my teachers, ഇവിടുത്തെ എല്ലാ ടീച്ചേഴ്സിനോടും ഞാൻ പറയുന്ന ഒരു പോയിന്റ് ഉണ്ട്, കുട്ടികളെ എടാ പോടാ വാടാ എന്നൊന്നും വിളിക്കരുത്. Why? We have to respect the student so the student feels that he is respected. Some teachers have told me if they are more loving a candidate, they use that word. No. I think except my children, I never use that word to anyone because you have to respect everybody. Even a worker who is working for you, you should respect him because by authority you can make people obey, but you cannot make people respect you. Always keep in mind, in crisis, that is very important. There are two types of command over people. ആളുകളുടെ മേലെ രണ്ട് തരത്തിലുള്ള കമാൻഡ് നമുക്കുണ്ട്. One is what is called moral command. The other is called authoritative command. As the principal of this college, I have got authoritative command over all the people here because I can punish them if they don't do something. But that is not a moral command. The moment they are outside this college, they will despise me. അവർ എന്നെ ചീത്ത പറയാൻ ഒട്ടും മടിക്കില്ല. എന്താ കാരണം? I have no moral command over them. But if they really respect me, they will behave the same way with me inside and outside. Many people used to tell me that railway officers, very senior officers, they are retired and they leave the office. If they are seen in the shop or footpath or somewhere, nobody will mind them. I asked them why. Because they said that when they were serving, they were misbehaving to us. They were treating us like animals. So they don't respect them. So what I say is, in case of crisis, the moral commanders are more in requirement. People don't obey authority. People obey the moral command more. That is why in many situations you would have seen the political leaders have got more command over the bureaucrats. Why? The political leaders are having moral command over the people. Whatever is the reason, they have got moral command. Even due to immorality, they may be having moral command. Doesn't matter. But the bureaucrats are having mostly authoritative commands which people won't accept. This can happen. See the next slide. What are the psychological effects of a hazard? People become pessimistic. People become stigmatic. They despise others. They feel helpless. Even at this COVID period, we would have seen so many WhatsApp videos where people are helpless, people are hopeless, people are pessimistic, and they are posting that because the crisis has affected them. till it affects us, we feel that we are away from it. Only when we are affected by crisis. I had such a situation. My son got COVID twice. And the first time he got COVID, I wanted to go and stay with him, but helpless, helpless. We are not permitted. Flights are not there. Cars are not permitted. He had to be alone. And obviously, the COVID has got an after effect. After crisis situation is the victim will have depression. Even normal victim will have depression after it. So they will become dull. They don't feel like taking food. This can happen. But in the COVID situation, many people have become helpless. They cannot do anything, especially those staying abroad. We have seen a lot of social media posting by COVID affected victims in the Middle East and other countries. So this can all happen when a crisis comes. See the next slide. Then allow people to fear. Don't try to, whenever you want to control the fear, they will become more fearsome. Somebody like crying. If somebody wants to cry, I'll say you cry. Why? Because once a person cries, their body will become normal. They are not permitted to cry. Their body will become abnormal. So let them express. Let them express that we are helpless, we are in danger. Let them cry. Let them say that we don't have money. Let them say that we have got concern. Let them express freely. That free expression will reduce the impact of the, say for example, some people are crying saying that my house has been taken away by the flood. So instead of saying you will get a house tomorrow, let them cry and understand, okay, I will have to make for myself. So that is very important. So don't overpromise. Don't overpromise and overdeliver. Let them understand the reality. In any situation, that is why children who have known the base realities of life, who had seen hunger, who have seen dangers, they will be more successful people later in life. In my young days, for example, I used to see a lot of fights among people, armed fights. So I think that is why when I joined a college, I was not fretful seeing a fight among people or people being killed or something like that, because I have been exposed to such situations in my childhood. I felt that this fight is nothing to me. So this will come because of your exposure to things. Okay. So what I feel is, let us, if a crisis is coming, let us realize it, let us understand it, let us imbibe it. I don't know whether any of you have had such a chance to witness a crisis. But a crisis കണ്ടിട്ടുള്ള ആരെങ്കിലും ഇതിലുണ്ടോ? Who have really witnessed a crisis? Let me see what is the feeling you got then. Anybody who have seen or witnessed a crisis? Arivilla? Let me see whether anybody is there out of this 47 people present here. Whether anybody is here who has, only 47 are here today, so 5-6 people are absent. Nandita, please take the attendance today, because I want to see who are all the absent. Take the attendance today, please. So Jayaprakash has Jayadev, who has given that. Okay, Jayadev has written that he has seen the flood affected area. Jayadev, you have seen the flood affected area when the flood was there. You have seen the flood affected area when the flood was there. Yes, so you would have seen. Yes, of course, if I was in a flood affected area, I may not have been much worried, because in my childhood I used to see flood every year, because we used to live very close to the sea. So every year in the monsoon there was a flood, but not heavy flood. Many times our schools had to close because of the flood affected water level being risen. Even many times we had to walk through the flood water. So if you are exposed to such a system, when the flood water is coming, you will not be afraid. Anybody who has never seen the flood will be affected. So exposure to such a crisis will give you more courage for seeing that crisis. That is very important. Similarly, send only positive signals. Don't send negative signals. And instead of void promises, give only meaningful assurances. Okay, these are things which you can keep. See the next slide. Make the facts work for you in a message. When you are taking care of a crisis, don't be artificial. Be very natural. Be very natural so that people will feel you are a trustworthy person. Don't make a framed statement and all. For example, if the water is coming to your places, don't try to convince people that there is no flood. You can just say, the water is coming, but it's not dangerous. That will console them. And use plain language. Avoid speculations, like avoid expectations. Speculation means guesswork. And also, at the time when such a danger is happening, don't be much humorous because people cannot understand your humor. Be plain. Don't try to make fun. You may enjoy the fun, but the others may not enjoy. That is very, very, very dangerous at the time of crisis. See the next slide. And always remember, the first day after the crisis is always difficult to handle. Within 24 hours or within 48 hours, you are only evaluating what has. So don't make a final statement immediately. Only after this period is over, comment on the magnitude. Suppose an earthquake has come. Immediately you don't make a comment saying that this earthquake, so many buildings were shattered. No, wait for a day. In any crisis situation, better to wait and see the things. Not only in crisis situation, when something goes wrong even in your family, don't make a reaction immediately. Just wait. Wait for a day. Anything that will be good for you. See the next slide. Throughout the situation, whenever a crisis is happening, verify what is going on. And of course, you can have some restrictive messages. Instead of people going for random choices of their own, if you are an authority, say, since I am the head of an institution, if something goes wrong in this institution, I'll be very careful. Say, for example, when the first COVID was spotted in our campus, I didn't permit anybody to give a wide notice saying that there is a COVID. Instead, I declared some holidays, even without anybody knowing it. We gave 6 days holidays. Nobody knew that there was a COVID case attached to it. But the 6 days was enough for me to ensure that nobody else got that COVID. So after the 6 days holidays, we resumed work. Nobody knew that there was a COVID and nobody got infected also. So this is a crisis management, a simple case. So like that, there is no need to make a hue and cry. When situations do arise, you can handle it in a very peaceful way. Every crisis. See the next slide. See the next slide. Risk communication has to be very specific. In risk communication, don't make so much of arguments. Rather, you talk to people in plain language and listen to what they are saying. Accept what they are saying. Listen to what they are saying. As I have already told in the last class, argument will never fetch any result. In any risk situation, avoid argument. Try to listen. The listening skill is a soothing one. Many times, if you listen to people, their problem will be over. You don't have to even comment. For example, if some students are coming here, I patiently listen to those students. Maybe their problem will be over that. I may not have to make any comments. I think earlier I used to react to students also harshly when they used to say some foolish things. But nowadays, I have made my policy change. I listen to the students more so that I feel that they are comfortable even without my answer. So this is a simple technique in communication. You listen to people more so that they will not get offended themselves. They try to understand themselves when they make the statement. So any victim, any crisis victim, you try to listen to them. That will solve half the problems. And then always the media needs something. So give something to them. If you don't give something, they will make something. Keep in mind, media is always news hungry. They have to give something. So if you don't give something, they will make something. So what is the best technique to handle the media in time of a crisis? Give some news, harmless news to them. They'll be happy with it so that they won't go in search of harmful news. Okay. So this is how the media can be controlled. And of course, most of the political parties have got a system. They divert with some other news. Whenever some dangerous news are there, they divert with some other news. It's a planned news, but it is being done. See the next slide. Last thing which we discuss about is what is called resilience. This is one term in risk management. What is resilience? What is resilience? Resilience in the Malayalam endana? Resilience in the Malayalam endana? What is the Malayalam for resilience?
ഉന്മേഷാണോ സർ?
പറയൂ.
ഉന്മേഷം.
ഉന്മേഷമല്ല. റെസിലിയൻസിന്റെ മലയാളം ഉന്മേഷമല്ല. വേറെ ആരെങ്കിലും കൂടെ ഒന്ന് നോക്കൂ, റെസിലിയൻസിന്റെ മലയാളം എന്താണെന്ന്. Then I'll ask you, how many of you have got that capacity of resilience? Resilience എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ആഘാതത്തെ താങ്ങാനുള്ള കഴിവ്. ഇതിന് മലയാളത്തിൽ എന്ത് പറയാം? The capacity to absorb an impact. അതിനാണ് റെസിലിയൻസ് എന്ന് പറയാം. ഒരു ആഘാതം, അതിനെ താങ്ങാനുള്ള കഴിവ്. സപ്പോസ് നിങ്ങളുടെ വളരെ ക്ലോസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരാൾ മരിച്ചു പോയെന്ന് വെച്ചു, then you will, if you are resilient, you can withstand that. If you are not resilient, you will burst out. മനസ്സിലായോ? അപ്പൊ അതിന് മലയാളത്തിൽ എന്ത് പറയാം? കീർത്തന, റെസിലിയൻസിന് മലയാളത്തിൽ എന്ത് പറയാം? അപ്പോ കീർത്തന മുമ്പേ ഒരു നല്ല ആൻസർ തന്നാണ്, സിമ്പതിക്ക്. കീർത്തന ഇസ് ദേർ അല്ലേ? കീർത്തന ഇല്ലേ അവിടെ? യെസ്. ഉൽപ്പതിഷ്ണുത. ഉൽപ്പതിഷ്ണുത എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഒരു അഡ്വാൻസ്ഡ് തിങ്കിങ് എന്നുള്ളതാണ്. ഉൽപ്പതിഷ്ണു എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ട്രഡീഷണൽ കൾച്ചേഴ്സിനെ ഓവർടേക്ക് ചെയ്യാൻ. ഇപ്പൊ എല്ലാവരും കൈയുള്ള ബ്ലൗസ് ഇട്ട് നടക്കുമ്പോൾ ഒരാൾ കൈയില്ലാത്ത ബ്ലൗസ് ഇട്ട് നടക്കുന്നതിന് ഉൽപ്പതിഷ്ണു എന്ന് പറയാൻ പാടില്ല. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് റെസിലിയൻസ്.
മനോധൈര്യം എന്നൊക്കെ പറയാൻ പറ്റും.
മനോധൈര്യം എന്നൊക്കെ പറയാൻ വേണമെങ്കിൽ യെസ്, മനോധൈര്യം. യെസ്, അങ്ങനെ പറയാം നമുക്ക്. കറക്റ്റ് വേർഡ് റെസിലിയൻസിന് മലയാളത്തിൽ ഇല്ല. മനോധൈര്യം ഈസ് എൻ എക്സ്റ്റെൻഡഡ് മീനിങ്. സഹിഷ്ണുതയും പാർഷ്യലി കറക്റ്റ് ആണ്. സഹിഷ്ണുത ഈസ് ഓൾസോ പാർഷ്യലി കറക്റ്റ്. എന്നാലും എക്സാക്ട് വേർഡ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു മലയാളത്തിൽ ഇല്ല. പാടൻ എന്താ മരിഹ പറഞ്ഞത്? റെസിലിയൻസ് കാണുന്നില്ലേ? സ്ക്രീൻ കാണുന്നില്ലേ? റെസിലിയൻസ് RESILIENCE പ്രൊജക്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. റെസിലിയൻസ് സ്ലൈഡിന്റെ ഏറ്റവും ടോപ്പിലുണ്ട്. റെസിലിയൻസ് കാണാവോ? റെസിലിയൻസിന് നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ പറയാവുന്ന ഒരു വേർഡ് വിപതി ധൈര്യം എന്നാണ്. വിപതി ധൈര്യം, ആപത്തിനെ നേരിടാനുള്ള കഴിവ്. ദാറ്റ്സ് കോൾഡ് റെസിലിയൻസ്. വിപതി ധൈര്യം കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? അങ്ങനെ വാക്ക് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ടോ? ഇല്ല. മലയാളത്തിൽ നമുക്ക് ഏറ്റവും നന്നായിട്ട് പറയാവുന്ന വേർഡ് വിപതി ധൈര്യം എന്നാണ്. റെസിലിയൻസ്. That is how to stand in face of adversity, how to cope when things go bleak, or when something goes hopeless, how can be hopeful. And those people with resilience may always make a failure a victory. Resilience ഉള്ള ആളുകൾ എപ്പോഴും പരാജയത്തെ ഒരു വിജയമാക്കി മാറ്റും. That is their nature. Are you having resilience, any of you? ഇപ്പൊ മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? ഒരു പരാജയം ജീവിതത്തിൽ പറ്റിയാൽ, ഒരു പരീക്ഷയ്ക്ക് തോറ്റുപോയി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതിനെ എങ്ങനെ ഒരു വിജയമാക്കി മാറ്റാൻ പറ്റും? അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒന്ന് വീണ് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ അതിനെ ഹൗ ക്യാൻ യു മേക്ക് എ സക്സസ് ഔട്ട് ഓഫ് ഇറ്റ്? ആരെങ്കിലും ഒന്ന് പറയൂ. എനി ഓഫ് യു ആർ ഹാവിംഗ് ദാറ്റ് റെസിലിയൻസ്? ആർക്കുണ്ടെന്ന് ഞാൻ നോക്കട്ടെ. ലെറ്റ് മീ സീ. അതുകൂടെ കേട്ടിട്ട് ഈ ചാപ്റ്റർ ക്ലോസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് അടുത്ത ചാപ്റ്റർ തുടങ്ങാൻ പോവാണ്. ഹു ആർ ഹാവിംഗ് റെസിലിയൻസ് അമംഗ് യു? ധൈര്യമായിട്ട് പറയൂ. ഹു ഈസ് ഹാവിംഗ് റെസിലിയൻസ്? whenever we have the next danger. Nandita can start with the next slide. By that time they'll say who is having resilience. I want to know the most courageous people in this group. Degree കിട്ടാൻ വളരെ കുറച്ച് നാളെ ബാക്കിയുള്ളൂ. If you are having more resilience. മരിഹയ്ക്ക് ഉണ്ടോ റെസിലിയൻസ്?
Yes sir.
ഉണ്ട്. Okay. വേറെ ആർക്കുണ്ട്? Let me hear. See who else is having resilience. Resilience is an indicator of your success in life. ജീവിത വിജയത്തിന്റെ ഒരു പ്രധാന ഭാഗം റെസിലിയൻസ് ആണ്. എന്ത് പരാജയം വന്നാലും അതിനെ വകവെച്ചു കൊടുക്കില്ല. അതാണ് റെസിലിയൻസ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് ആക്സെപ്റ്റിംഗ് സെറ്റ് ബാക്ക്, ഹിറ്റിംഗ് ബാക്ക് ഓൺ ഇറ്റ്. വേറെ ആർക്കില്ലേ? ദേവപ്രസാദ്, ആർ യു ഹാവിംഗ് റെസിലിയൻസ്? ദേവപ്രസാദിന് കേൾക്കാമോ? റെസിലിയൻസ് ഉണ്ടോ? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ മാത്രം പറയാം. You should have it. People with resilience can withstand life. ജീവിതത്തിൽ എന്ത് അപകടം ഉണ്ടായാലും, നമ്മുടെ ഉറ്റവരാരെങ്കിലും വിട്ടുപോയാൽ, നമുക്ക് ഇപ്പൊ എൻ്റെ 2 കാലും ഒടിഞ്ഞു പോയാലും, മാനമര്യാദയ്ക്ക് നടന്നിരുന്ന എൻ്റെ 2 കാലും 4 കൊല്ലം മുമ്പ് ഒടിഞ്ഞു പോയി. Only because I was having resilience I could recuperate. I don't know whether I am having sufficient, but I feel like having. So these are all needed in life to overtake the crisis, the disasters which happen to you. So with that, we are closing that chapter. Now we are going to another chapter which is entirely different. Earth as a system. This is the next chapter in the syllabus. Earth as a system. So that I will discuss today, and maybe by next class I will be completing this. See this slide which is shown Earth. What was the old belief system? Old belief system was what is called geocentric system. Geo, G-E-O. Geo എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താ? G-E-O, Geo. Geo stands for what? G-E-O, Geo. Geo എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്? രമ്യ, what do you understand by Geo? G-E-O. Geo എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താ? രമ്യ വിജയകുമാർ, യു ആർ ഹിയർ. രമ്യ അല്ലേ ഇവിടെ? No response. Please respond quickly because your response time is wasting others' time. Yes. Shibi, Earth. Very good. So Remy is not here. Remy എവിടില്ലേ? Remy is not here. Please put a message, Ramya. So Shibi and Akshaya has told Earth. It is correct. Geo means Earth. Ramya Vijaykumar, if you are here, you please respond. Otherwise, Nandada can mark her as absent. I don't know whether she is here or not. Yes, she is here. Okay. You have got connectivity problem. Okay. So this diagram is the example of geocentric system. In this diagram, Earth is the center, geocentric. You know that we used to have a concept of 9 planets: Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. Now out of that, Pluto is not taken as a planet. Now only 8 are there, up to Neptune. So earlier it was believed that Earth is the center. People like Aristotle and Archimedes and even Ptolemy believed that geocentric is the system. Earth is the center and the other planets are revolving around the Earth. That diagram is this. But you know that later means some 5 centuries back, it has been told wrong. Galileo has postulated that we don't have a geocentric system, but we do have a stellar-centric system or sun-centered system. Stellar means star. Stellar, star. So we are having a sun-centered system, or that is also called the heliocentered system. Helios means shining. Helio, H-E-L-I-O. That is how helium got its name. Helium always burns. That is why Helios is. So we have got a heliocentered system with sun as the center. Okay. So this is the old belief system. See the next slide. See, if you take the whole cosmos, whole universe, 73% is energy. See, can you believe it? Matter is only 27%. Can you believe this? 73% is the energy and only 27% is matter. Out of that, Only 4% is normal visible matter. 23% are invisible. I don't know, you understand what I'm saying. Entire matter in this world, matter and energy, only 4% is visible to you. 96% is invisible. I think you are confused. The Rigveda starts with the sloga. Have you heard Rigveda? First Veda. The Rigveda starts with the sloga. Nasa dasinna sada sita dani nasidrajona vyoma paroyat. About the origin of the earth. There is nothing, but everything is there. There was no matter, but matter was there. So the cosmos is like that. What Rigveda says is about the origin of the universe. It is true even today because 73% dark energy, 23% dark matter. Dark matter means black holes. I don't know whether you heard the concept of black holes. That's a concept given by Chandrasekhar, Dr. S. Chandrasekhar, who is the nephew of Dr. C.V. Raman. He identified the existence of dark matter on this universe. So 96% is dark matter or dark energy. Only 4% is visible matter and visible energy. See the fate. See the next slide. I'm not going into the complication of these things because if I go on talking about dark matter, that itself will take days and days. Some 3 months back, I gave a session on you and the universe. There I discussed about this dark matter that so many teachers from colleges were attending. I'm now not going to talk about dark matter right now, but what is a solar system? Its origin and early development. You see, in the solar system, the sun is there. Then all the in this diagram, Pluto is also there, but Pluto is no more a planet. Pluto is only a moon taken right now, or it is at the most an asteroid. So the closer to the sun, see the next slide, we can see what is closer to sun. See the next slide. After this slide, we'll go to the Aristotle observed the sun rising in the east and setting in the west. So he told that sun revolved around the earth, which is called the geocentric system or earth-centered. This I have already told. See the next slide. Next slide. I think slide transition is taking time. Because these things, it is better I explain with the slide. Yes. How far away the things are from us. I remember a nursery rhyme which I have studied long back. How large unto the little fly must little things appear. A loaf of bread, a lofty hill, a wasp, a cruel leopard. So to a little fly, a bread will be looking like a mountain. So that is what is our relative size in this earth. We are very, very micro organism. And you see that 1 light year is 9.46 trillion kilometers, 1 light year. Or simply, let me ask a question. How far is the sun from the earth? How far is the sun from the earth? Anybody? How far is sun from the earth? Suryan Bhumiyil ninnu etra doorathilanu? We know only approximate, but still. $149.96 million kilometers. You have Googled it? Easy way to calculate is sun is around 8 minutes away from, why we say minutes and seconds and years. In cosmic calculation, we always say time because that is the time taken for the light to travel. From earth to sun or from sun to earth, light takes around 8 minutes. So what is the distance? In a second, light travels 3 lakhs kilometers. That is the speed of light. that is the constant c defined by whom? The constant of c is defined in theory of relativity. By whom? Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein defined a constant c, that is a speed of light, that is 3 lakhs kilometers per second. So sun is 8 minutes away from Earth, means 8 minutes into 60 seconds into 3 lakhs kilometers. So that much is the distance of sun from the Earth. And we are in a galaxy which is called Milky Way. From one end of the Milky Way, there is only one galaxy. Such millions of galaxies are there in the universe. The universe is having millions and millions of galaxies, which ours is a small or medium level galaxy, which is called Milky Way. Milky Way is having millions of stars. Sun is one among that star, and that is a star which we are centered around. And the nearest star from Sun is what is called Proxima Centauri, which is 4.5 light years from Sun. So the next star which we can see other than Sun is Proxima Centauri, which take 4.45 light years, means 4.45 into 365 into 60 minutes into 60 seconds into 3 lakhs kilometers. Calculate. And the diameter of this Milky Way is 1 lakh light years. So how much is your dimension in this universe? You go and calculate. If this is the dimension of one galaxy, what will be the dimension of the entire universe? Who created the universe? Where he or she is sitting? Can they see us? These are all questions. In my college days, I used to learn these things and go on meditation for days and days to understand what is the level of the universe, but incomprehensible. That is why the belief system of agnosticism means Ajnayadavadam. Ajnayadavadam എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞതിന്റെ അർത്ഥം the universe is incomprehensible. പ്രപഞ്ചത്തെ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ കഴിയില്ല. So we just assume a God and assign everything to that God. ഒരു കാര്യത്തെ മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ പറ്റില്ലെങ്കിൽ, suppose you don't understand a subject, you can just say that there is a teacher there, he knows everything. Over. So you can go and ask the doubts to him. So we always assign a God and say that the God is the creator and the God knows everything. So our headache is over. This is the belief system of God. Okay? So universe is something which is incomprehensible. ഇപ്പൊ മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? പ്രപഞ്ചത്തെക്കുറിച്ച് നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ കഴിയുകയില്ല. Now we can try to understand our earth. That is better. Forget about the universe. Now I am coming to the earth system. So if anybody wants to know more about the universe, you can ask me later, not in this class, because this is an area where I have done a lot of research about the universe. So many days and days I used to have silence and meditation on this, but ultimately I found that this is something which I can never comprehend. And also I understood that the belief of God is something which is immaterial. You cannot identify, you cannot understand where the God is, how the God is, and whatever we assume, it is only an assumption. That is my belief system. Okay. But something can be there which we cannot understand. See the next slide. Come back to earth. From the universe, we are coming back to the earth. Let us see what is around the earth. The next slide, we are going to see what is there in earth. These are the elements on the earth's crust. I told in the atmosphere, earth's atmosphere, which is the most abundant element on the earth's atmosphere. Atmosphere is above the earth. This is crust. Crust means ഭൂമിയുടെ പുറന്തോട്. Atmosphere means ഭൂമിക്ക് പുറത്ത്. ഭൂമിക്ക് പുറത്ത് അറ്റ്മോസ്ഫിയറിലുള്ള ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള എന്താണ് അറ്റ്മോസ്ഫിയറിൽ? Somebody tell me. Sina, can you tell me what is the biggest element in atmosphere? Sina. അറ്റ്മോസ്ഫിയർ അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിലെ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ എന്താണ്? മനസ്സിലായില്ല? ഭൂമിയുടെ അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിൽ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള എലിമെന്റ് ഏതാണ്? Sona, can you tell me? Sina പറഞ്ഞില്ല എന്നാ സോന പറയൂ. Sona Bibi, tell me which is the element highest in the atmosphere? അന്തരീക്ഷത്തിൽ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള എലിമെന്റ് ഏതാണ്? നൈട്രജൻ. സോന ഈസ് റൈറ്റ്. നൈട്രജൻ. 78.26% of the atmosphere is nitrogen. Atmosphere. But this is Earth's crust. ഭൂമിയുടെ പടലം, ഭൂമിയുടെ സർഫസ്. ഭൂമിയുടെ the entire crust of the earth. ഭൂമിയുടെ വോളിയത്തിലുള്ള ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ ഓക്സിജൻ ആണ്. 46.6%. പിന്നെയുള്ള സിലിക്കൺ ആണ് 27.7. ഓർഡിനറി സാൻഡ് എന്താണ്? വാട്ട് ഈസ് എ കെമിക്കൽ നെയിം ഫോർ സാൻഡ്? മണല്. മണലിന്റെ കെമിക്കൽ നെയിം എന്താണ്? എനിബഡി നോസ് വാട്ട് ഈസ് സാൻഡ്? ശ്രീലക്ഷ്മി വിനോദ്, ക്യാൻ യു ടെൽ മീ വാട്ട് ഈസ് സാൻഡ്? സാൻഡ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ എന്താണ്? What is sand? Silicon dioxide. Samina has written. GC has written silica. GC silica is nothing but silicon dioxide. Sri Lashmi has written silica. Yes. Akshay has written SiO2. Yes. Silica and SiO2 is right. Silicon is not half right only. The sand which we say is silicon dioxide, SiO2. So SiO2 is the highest on the surface of Earth. And remember, SiO2 is nothing but Si plus O2. And which is the metal which is the most abundant on Earth? ഭൂമിയിൽ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള മെറ്റൽ ഏതാണ്? ഭൂമിയിൽ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള മെറ്റൽ. സ്വാതിക, can you tell me? സ്വാതിക പറയാമോ ഭൂമിയിൽ ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള മെറ്റൽ ഏതാണെന്ന്? സ്വാതിക, ആർ യു ലിസണിങ്? കേൾക്കാമോ? ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഒന്ന് അൺമ്യൂട്ടെങ്കിലും ചെയ്യൂ, സോ ദാറ്റ് ഐ നോ ദാറ്റ് യു ആർ പ്രസന്റ്. എന്തിനാ പലതവണ ഇങ്ങനെ പേര് വിളിപ്പിക്കുന്നത്? യു ജസ്റ്റ് അൺമ്യൂട്ട്. ഓക്കെ, യെസ്, സ്വാതിക ഈസ് പ്രസന്റ്. ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള മെറ്റൽ ഏതാണെന്ന് സ്വാതികയ്ക്ക് അറിയില്ലെങ്കിൽ വേറൊരാളിനോട് ചോദിക്കാം നമുക്ക്. അലൂമിനിയം. അമിത ഹാസ് റിട്ടൺ അലൂമിനിയം. ശ്രീലക്ഷ്മി, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് ഷോൺ ഓൺ ദി സ്ലൈഡ്. നിങ്ങളൊക്കെ ആ സ്ലൈഡ് നോക്കിയാൽ മതി, അതിൽ എഴുതിയിട്ടുണ്ട് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതലുള്ള മെറ്റൽ അലൂമിനിയം ആണെന്ന്. അലൂമിനിയം ഈസ് 8.1% ഓൺ ദി എർത്ത്, whereas iron is 5%. Okay, so aluminum has got the highest concentration on earth. Right, now let us see the next slide. Adutha slide like povam. How did the solar system originate? This concept is called the cloud theory. രണ്ട് മൂന്ന് തിയറി ഉണ്ട് സോളാർ സിസ്റ്റത്തിന്റെ ഒറിജിനേഷന്. ഇതിൽ ഇന്ന് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നത് ക്ലൗഡ് തിയറിയാണ്. ക്ലൗഡ് തിയറി സേസ് ദാറ്റ് there was an electrically charged cloud. I told that 96% of the energy in this universe and the energy or matter is dark energy and dark matter. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ക്ലൗഡ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ആ ക്ലൗഡ് കണ്ടൻസ് ചെയ്യാന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ഉറയുക. That cloud has condensed and made the solar system. That is our belief system. അതിന് ക്ലൗഡ് തിയറി എന്നാണ് പറയാറ്. ഇതുപോലെ പല തിയറികൾ വേറെ ഉണ്ട്. ബിഗ് ബാങ് തിയറി is there, collision theory is there, but this is the most commonly adopted theory. And this cloud formed after breaking of a supernova. What is called a supernova? A star, when it grows old, ഒരു നക്ഷത്രത്തിന് വയസ്സാവുമ്പോൾ അതിന്റെ എമിഷൻസ് കുറയും, എനർജി എമിഷൻസ് കുറഞ്ഞിട്ട് അത് ചുവന്ന് വരും. then it is called a red dwarf. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? പക്ഷെ ഈ ചുവന്ന് വരുന്നതിന് മുന്നേ അത് ഈ മങ്ങാൻ പോകുന്ന വെളിച്ചം ആളിക്കത്തും എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലെ ആദ്യം കുറച്ച് നന്നായിട്ട് തിളങ്ങും. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് നോവ. അങ്ങനെ നന്നായി തിളങ്ങിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നതിൽ തിളക്കം പെട്ടെന്ന് കൂടും, കാരണം ഈ മരിക്കാൻ പോകുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് ശ്വാസം വലിക്കുന്ന പോലെ. ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് സൂപ്പർ നോവ. Then after supernova it becomes a red star. After red star it becomes dark matter. Dark matter means black hole. So it is believed that some supernova exploded. Supernova പൊട്ടിത്തെറിച്ചാണ് സോളാർ സിസ്റ്റം ഉണ്ടായതെന്ന് പറയുന്നു, which we don't know. It's all belief system. യൂണിവേഴ്സിനെ കുറിച്ച് പറയുന്ന ഏത് തിയറിയും സങ്കല്പമാണ്. It's not reality. So we don't know. Even the cloud theory, nothing more than what is given in the Rig Veda. It's only a belief system. We don't know. So we don't know. Really speaking, we don't know anything about the universe. This is all our imagination. Maybe someday somebody will find that these are all wrong. Like the belief system of Copernicus was proved wrong by Galileo. This may be proved wrong anytime. So this is only belief system. See the next slide. We are seeing the next slide. Without the slides, I cannot explain. Otherwise, I would have explained that. You see the slide. This, I think, I have shown you sometime earlier. A cross-section of the Earth. The outermost layer is called lithosphere. This is a cross-section of the Earth. Then, just inside that is called asthenosphere. That orange color is asthenosphere. That blue color is lithosphere. And the innermost, that yellow color is called the lower mantle. This is how the Earth is defined. So, innermost, there is one more red color that is called the core. That may be molten. Molten means in liquid form. Obviously, the outermost lithosphere and asthenosphere are normally solid. But lower mantle and the core may be mostly liquid. And that liquid will contain iron, nickel, aluminum, etc. See the next slide. This has been an enlarged figure of last one, but I have explained to you. And what is the diameter of the Earth? Anybody? How much is the diameter of the Earth? See this diagram? No, next diagram. Next diagram. Next diagram gives the diameter of the Earth. Yes, this gives the diameter of the Earth. How much is the diameter of the Earth? Any idea? Any idea? Can anybody tell me what is the diameter of the Earth? Tanvir, can you tell me? Tanvir, can you tell me what is the diameter of the Earth? Yes, tell me. 12,740 kilometers. Yes, you are right. Sri Rashmi has added 2 more kilometers. Okay. This both will be correct because Earth is not a sphere. Earth is called by a name oblate spheroid. Oblate spheroid means like an orange. The shape of an orange is oblate spheroid. Means at the poles it is a bit flat. Elsewhere it is quite like a sphere. So you see the different layers. This diagram gives you the diameter of the inner core, diameter of the lithosphere, diameter of the asthenosphere, etc., etc. Okay. See the next slide. Earth is having a magnetic field. Why Earth is having a magnetic field? Because it is under attraction by the sun. So the next diagram will tell you what is the impact of that sun's attraction. See the next slide. Next slide is going to be our last slide. Just see what is the effect of this attraction. Yes, this is the reality. This is how the earth is having magnetic field. Why? The earth is oriented towards the sun. The sun is having sun wind. Sun wind is called magnetic wind. That magnetism act on the earth. You see that earth and sun. On the left side, that yellow color is sun. On the right side is earth. So the sun's magnetism is transferred to earth. That is how the earth is getting magnetism. Earth by itself doesn't have any magnetism. And obviously, based on the intensity of the sun's wind, it's called solar wind, the magnetism of the earth will change. And remember, the magnetism of the earth has got direct impact on you. Keep in mind that earth and its magnetism is having direct impact on you. So your behavior is controlled by the magnetic effect of the earth. Every time. We are not knowing. It's a hidden thing. So whether you are in a good mood or bad mood, so if something goes wrong with the earth, it will go wrong with you also. Not only you, in every organism, magnetic field is there. Your brain has got a magnetic field, and that magnetic field is always influenced by the earth's magnetic field. So always keep in mind, don't bring any heavy magnet too close to your brain. If you are having a very powerful magnet, don't bring it close to your head. Your head will be affected by that magnetism. And also keep in mind, when you are giving electric shock to a person, to mad people we give electric shock. We bring heavy magnets to their, it's electromagnetic shock that you are giving. So don't bring heavy electromagnets to your brain. You can get a small shock. Don't do that. Now we have to see what are the paraphernalia of the other subsystems of the earth. We will see in our next class on Thursday, earth as a system. We have given the preliminary, and after that, the last thing in that module will be on the next slide. We'll be discussing about the remaining parts of this module. I'm not discussing in advance. And then we'll pass on to the second module. Second module also we will finish within 2-3 weeks, and then after the second module we are going to have the first test paper. So be prepared. I've already posted to you the question paper of one sample examination. Go through it. Then sample questions I'll give you a bit later. So thank you very much. We'll see in the next class.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.